Log in and let us know in the chat where you're logging in from today. Hello, Napa.
Trinidad. Oh my goodness, everyone. Morning from Calgary, eh?
Hey, Pat. Hi.
Okay, we'll give it another minute. Just let us know where you're logging in from, and we're going to go ahead and get started in a minute.
All my Canadians are here.
Yep.
Great.
Hi, Naomi. We're all pros at this by now. Hey, guys, this is so good.
From Vegas. Loving it.
Well, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started because I want to leave plenty of time for this wonderful discussion we're going to have. Welcome everyone. My name is Gwendolyn McNutt, CSEP. I'm the chair of the ILEA Professional Development Committee. Thanks so much for joining today's webinar, Down the Aisle, How the Pandemic Has Changed the Wedding Industry, powered by Giants Enterprises. Please don't forget that now's the time to renew your membership. Most memberships are expiring next week. So if you haven't renewed your membership yet, renew now before your membership lapses. And also please join us virtually for ILEA Live, August 10th through the 12th. And then on August 13th, help us celebrate the work of our industry colleagues at ILEA 2021 Esprit Awards, powered by Court Events. Register now before the early bird deadline on July 13th. And I just have a couple of housekeeping notes before we begin. We will be recording today's session and it will be posted on the ILEA Hub. Please put your questions into the Q&A box and we'll get to as many of them as we can. And also share your thoughts and comments in the chat, as well as your experience on social media using the hashtags ILEA Webinar Wednesday and ILEA Welcomes All. Today's webinar also features closed captioning. Please click the CC button on your screen to view the live transcription. Today's webinar will be moderated by Chelsea Roy. Chelsea is a member of the ILEA Professional Development Committee and the owner of Everything But the Ring and EBTR events. She began planning weddings in her hometown of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and in 2014 relocated to Houston, Texas. Chelsea is also co-founder of the Association of Wedding Planners Houston. She's an avid freelance writer, having been published online and in magazines for her planning experience. Please welcome Chelsea Roy.
Thanks, Gwen. All right. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. I'm Chelsea. I'm so excited to be moderating today's panel of wedding experts. And let me tell you, we have got the best of the best of the best here to join us. We're going to be talking about weddings today, but a lot of this translates over into every kind of event. So I'm sure that this info is going to help everyone who's watching right now. This conversation's geared less towards how to have a restricted event than how we are all planning to forge ahead post-vaccination availability, what that looks like in terms of balancing guest safety with the desire to go back to normal / creating a new normal. So without further ado, let's introduce our panel of experts. I would like to first introduce you to Lynn Fletcher, CSEP, owner and planner at Lynn Fletcher Weddings. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you.
Lynn has 22 years of international award-winning event planning experience and is also the director of publications at Confetti Magazine, Western Canada's ultimate wedding resource and industry showcase. Lynn is a past president of both the ILEA Calgary chapter and the ILEA Canada Board of Directors, a longtime instructor at my alma mater, Mount Royal University, and a renowned, passionate industry mentor. She's been recognized as the Canadian Event Professional of the Year, recently received the Spirit of the Industry Lifetime Achievement Award, and is currently listed on BizBash's top 250 most influential event professionals in Canada. Welcome, Lynn.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
And
Beautiful.
next we have Morgan Doan, CSEP, PWC, Principal and Creative Director at Morgan Events. Morgan is the ILEA Live 2021 Chair, past Board Director, ILEA International Board of Governors, and past President of the ILEA Northern California Chapter. Megan has over 20 years of experience producing events with clients ranging from Fortune 500 executives to couples passionate about exquisite design. Morgan is also an international award-winning event producer, highly sought after as an event designer, and has been featured in Inside Weddings, Grace Ormond Wedding Style, Modern Bride, Special Events Magazine, Biz Bash, Style Me Pretty, and WeTV Network Platinum Weddings. Welcome, Morgan. We're excited to have you.
Yes, happy to be here today. Excited.
And next we have Sasha Souza, CEO, wedding and event trendmaker and celebrity wedding planner. Sasha has planned hundreds of weddings and events since she began in 1995 and is now a regular speaker at the Special Events Show, Cater Source, and the Rental Show conferences, and is a keynote speaker around the world for the hottest trends in wedding and event design. She was honored by Condé Nast as one of the first top 25 trendsetters in the wedding industry, has been the events chair for the Search Foundation and served on the executive committee, and was the founding president of the National Board of Directors for Wish Upon a Wedding, the US's only wedding wish granting nonprofit for couples facing terminal illness. In 2016, Sasha started the consultancy for creatives to help creative event professionals level up their business. And somehow, on top of all of these things, Sasha has published 2 books and released her online Signature Sasha Wedding Design Planner to help brides and planners with creating a perfect design plan. So welcome, everyone. All-star cast here.
That's long. Oh,
Great. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to talk, I think, first, the best place to start is where we are in terms of reopening the industry. Obviously, I know here in Texas, we're wide open for business, have been for a while now. Weddings are happening. We are 100% capacity. Moving ahead, Sasha and Morgan, I know that you're both in California. Things just opened up, I believe, like last week. Morgan, did you want to talk about where things are at in terms of opening?
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'm in San Francisco, Northern California, and Sasha's just our next door neighbor in Napa there. And since June 15th, it's just been gates wide open for us. There hasn't been any, at least the venues up in San Francisco, we have not, there hasn't been any major restrictions. Although a lot of our clients are still, safety is always priority for them. So, you know, with regards to venues, there isn't a certain percentage that you have to abide by during COVID. So for us, it's been pretty good, and clients are reaching out and looking at dates for later on, but rebooking for later on this year, but also for 2022 and 2023 for us. So, Sasha,
yeah. Anything under 5,000 guests is basically free game here right now. So anything over is considered a large event. So at least all of our clients are interested in whatever the CDC guideline is. So whatever that's where they want to put their focus, as opposed to, you know, California, which has no restriction, right? So it's it definitely was a different feeling on the 15th of June. We all sort of stood around and went, what are we supposed to do now? Like,
completely.
how does this work?
Yeah.
So.
And, you know, I also want to add that, you know, CDC guidelines is definitely priority. State is the other, but then more importantly is your county guidelines, because that really dictates what you do locally. And that's something that, you know, everyone should make sure they focus on a little bit more when they do produce their events, because the county guidelines truly supersedes the state in general. So.
Great point. Definitely something that Canada doesn't have to deal with in terms of counties, but Lynn, tell us, what are things like in Canada? Is it the same across the provinces? Is it more of a federal mandate? Where are you at in Alberta?
In Alberta, we hit 71% vaccinated in our population in Alberta. So stage 3 is opening. We're super, super excited. Word on the street and what's being told to us is that we're completely opening without any restrictions on gatherings or spacing or mask wearing or anything as of July 1st, which gives us an amazing Canada Day, an amazing July 4th, celebrating the beginning of summer with everybody. We are the first province in Canada to open up. there are other provinces. Manitoba is still completely in lockdown at 10% occupancy in shopping malls, no events whatsoever. I think the limit is 10. Right now, the limit for us is 20 weddings, outside only. Ceremonies can happen inside or outside with 20 people, and receptions only outside to 20 people. July 1st, we can have a wedding for 300 people. So what happens on July 29th? That's my question. Anyway, we're very, very excited. Other provinces are starting to follow suit. The Atlantic provinces east of, on our eastern border there, have a bit of a bubble. They've not been allowed to travel within each other or to the rest of Canada, and they have to quarantine coming back. So, you know, everybody's going to figure it out. I think in the next month, it's going to be really interesting what the world does. I think a lot of the countries that are represented here on the call today are figuring that out. So what does this next couple months look like for everybody? It's going to be really exciting to see the world come back to normal.
Totally agree. And I think these next few months all around, like you said, all over the world are going to be interesting in terms of everything. And in terms of the events that you all have booked for the rest of the summer and into the fall, I guess one thing that everyone really wants to know is how are you advising your clients on guest safety in terms of what they should or need to provide at their events, at least for the near future? And I think that might vary. It may not. We may be kind of, as planners, all the same across the board on that, but looking forward to hearing more about that. Sasha, what are you telling your clients right now for events over the next few months?
So the events over the next couple of months are actually a little bit smaller. They were already pre-planned at, you know, the guideline numbers. For Napa, our county has always been a little bit ahead of all of the other counties because we have a smaller count of just humans. So where we've been in like orange tier, which, you know, it was purple, red, orange, yellow, other counties were still in red or purple tiers. So we were able to like get a little bit of a jump start on some stuff. So ours, as far as like guidelines, I believe at that time, until recently, the California Department of Public Health essentially put the onus of checking on any COVID vaccinations or anything on the venues. It was venue's responsibility to check that. It didn't fall on the planner. If a venue wanted to manage it and wanted to force the client to do it, they could. So obviously, my clients, since they're all smaller groups, they're all people that they know. Either they know they've been vaccinated. You know, we are asking our serving staff and people who are not vaccinated to please wear masks. I can't, however, police that. It's not my place. So I wear a mask. I just did an event in North Carolina about a month ago where it was a totally different scenario with regard to everybody's mask wearing. And we wore masks at the event, you know, because it was just, I knew I was traveling. I was going there. I was coming back. Even though I was fully vaccinated, I still did that. So we are sort of advising clients that they should let their guests know, you know, if they're not vaccinated, they need to wear a mask. They are vaccinated. There's nothing I can really do, to be quite honest, to enforce vaccination.
Sure. Is that the same for you, Morgan?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same for us as well. And I think the other thing that we also want to keep in mind is when our clients are looking at venues is to consider venues that you can actually, let's just say you have 100 guests, but a venue that you can actually grow to 200 if need be, just for the additional space. And then I think, I mean, from at least from our clients, you know, everyone's still looking for outdoor venues because that's kind of the safety net that everyone feels that, you know, if you're outside, you'll be much better with just air circulation and so forth. But yeah, pretty much the same on this end.
Great. And Lynn, what about you? What are you telling your clients that they need to or should be providing when it comes to safety?
I think just duty of care, just talking to their guests about what Sasha and Morgan just said. About if you're not vaccinated, please wear a mask. You know, that those communication pieces are really important for everybody's comfortability. people that are fully vaccinated need to know maybe that there are people that are not vaccinated there, and people that aren't vaccinated need to decide the risk factors of attending a gathering with people. I know people that are allergic to the vaccine. I mean, my heart breaks for those people that can't get the vaccine, but really want to go to their cousin's wedding. So for that, we'll do signage, we'll do communication pieces, wear a mask, sanitize, all that stuff is going to be around all summer, just like we had in the peak of COVID last year. So we'll distance where we can, and seat 6 at a table, that everybody knows that's okay. We're not going to cram tables of 10 into a full capacity ballroom. We're going to give it some room.
Okay. Are any of you finding that any venues are requiring proof of vaccination at this point?
That's a touchy one. Hey guys.
Yeah, right.
Whether they should,
That's a no.
have you found anyone that is requiring it? Not at this point.
Not yet.
Yeah.
And
No.
go ahead. I'm sorry. Not yet.
Oh, I was just saying, yeah, no, not at all. The venues don't want to be the cops either. Like they really don't want to. And in California, as well as when I was in North Carolina, people were not, in North Carolina, they had the indoor mask wearing was still required. It just wasn't a thing. So here, the venues just don't want to do it. Like it's up to pretty much the client. I'm doing a bat mitzvah, a really large bat mitzvah at the end of August at an outdoor venue. We're putting up a pretty extensive tent. I just want to make this point. The ceremony is inside the shul, and even the shul was like, we're not going to do it until the CDC and the county say it's okay. That starts next week. So they're going to get to have their 250 person bat mitzvah at the end of August, and nobody is going to be checking their vaccination records. We have people coming from all over the world. If they can travel, they're coming. So I think it's pretty much here, at least. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with it.
I think that you all bring up a really good point that a lot of this ends up coming back to the venue as the host, essentially, place for the party. Are there any safety questions that you're encouraging your guests to ask the venue, or that you're asking the venue? What would be something that you would strongly advise someone who's planning to be talking to the venue about in this situation for the foreseeable future?
There are a few venues that are doing contact tracing still. Whether the client gathers that information, people's names, obviously we have them, phone numbers and emails. If we have digital invitations, we have all of that information, submitting that to the venue in case there's a case that comes up. But arrival protocols were really important last summer, and I think they're going to be important again. Just signage that says, can you self-assess? Do you have symptoms? Have you been in contact? If so, please do not enter the facility. Again, those communication pieces prior to the wedding are really important. People know how important it is. But again, like Sasha said, we can't police that. We have to let it go. And there's a point where we have to just live. We have to learn how to live with COVID. If we get cases, we get cases. Like, I don't know any way that we can prevent it other than all the things we're already doing.
Yeah. There is an element, I suppose, at some point where the only way out is through, as they say, you know, with the availability of the vaccine. And on that note, I know that whether or not people can or should ask for vaccination is certainly subject to people's personal opinion. Have any of your clients decided that they are going to request proof of that from their guests, and how have they decided who is going to essentially police that and enforce it? Has anyone experienced that so far?
I have. Some of our clients are like, they not messing around. You're getting vaccinated if you're coming to my wedding. And they have every right to have that conversation with their guests. It's just, we can't, but have at her, go for it if you're going to do that. It just gives all the guests really great comfortability. We also have rapid testing available at venues as well. So people that arrive to the wedding can get tested right then and there. Why not? Why not put that in there? Offer it. You'll know really fast who's not vaccinated if they go for that COVID test. I mean, we can still get COVID if you're fully vaccinated. but just offering those things. And some clients are pulling no punches. Others are like us, you know, they're like, we just want a wedding. We just want everybody to come.
I've always encouraged my clients to think about their wedding especially when it comes to budgetary issues. Like, think about putting a dollar sign on everybody's head, right? Like, these are the people you would want to have over for Sunday dinner. You don't have to extend this to, like, you know, third, fourth, fifth, you know, groups of people. You can keep it small so that, you know, because most of them know their guests, and they really do know who's vaccine positive and who's vaccine negative. And people here don't pull any punches with telling people on social media how they feel, right? So they pretty much know their group. And because of that, I think that there's less on my end with my clients saying, I want to make sure everybody's vaccinated. They pretty much already know who they can trust, and they're honing that list down to those people who they would have over for a Sunday dinner versus, you know, the third cousin that they have to invite, and the, you know, the mailman and all those other people. So that's why, you know, that 250% mitzvah, they know all those people. Those are their people, and they already know where they stand, whether they can or cannot even get a vaccine right now because of where they live in the world. So I think, at least for our clients, they do know their people.
Yeah, ours too are in the same shoes, Sasha, in the sense that, you know, especially for the ones that are rebooking for this summer and fall, it's definitely more intimate, you know, 50 to 100 guests at most. It's the ones that are next year in 2022 of our clients that they definitely, safety is important. And they've put it out there to their guests that, you know, if you're going to come to our event, we don't want to be a super spreader. So please get vaccinated. And that's another way to encourage those who haven't. And then they're also anticipating to have some on-site testing just in case, to play it on the safe side.
Totally. In the chat, Sally from Arizona said that they're asking their vendors to wear masks, and they're going to wear masks this season. And she has a wedding in October where they've asked their guests to get vaccinated or stay home.
Yeah, exactly.
We're going to be wearing masks all summer, just as a respect for the guests and everything. So us and the vendors, we'll just make a habit of it.
I think there's going to be a lot of matching pitch with clients in terms of where they're at. You're going to have clients who are going to be very, you know, forceful about needing this or wanting it and enforcing it. And some who are just like, I am done with this. And I don't want to have to think about this anymore. And it's that constantly matching energy with where those people are at and how versatile as planners we have to be for all of those things. And I mean, with vaccination being kind of the top level of what we have now, taking that kind of down a notch, are any of you having clients who are asking, or are you encouraging clients to have their guests even sign something that just says that they, you know, that they are vaccinated instead of providing proof? Is there any kind of document that you're having clients sign, or some kind of an agreement that the guests need to make with them? I believe that this in some places is called a duty of care document.
Yeah. Depends where you're from, I think. Morgan and Sasha, are you seeing that at all?
No. Seeing that on our end. We did in Calgary last year. We had a duty of care document. Basically, I'm entering at my own risk and not holding the host of the event or the planner liable for myself getting infected or getting COVID. We did have those forms. They were run by the venues. There was about 4 venues that had that and required every guest that entered the venue to sign that 1-pager form. We have one ourselves that we sent to the client and gave them the choice to send it as a message to their guests or get them signed. A few of them got them signed. But for the most part, that duty of care document is a communication piece that we can send out or post a really nice sign at the entrance to the venue that by entering, you have self-assessed, you're sure you're going to get tested or you're vaccinated. So and if they walk by it, they've read it.
We have signs like that here for what's called Prop 65, which means that there's lead in everything. right?
Uh,
So you walk into any building and it basically says Prop 65 warning if you're pregnant, like blah, 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 don't enter. So I think that's kind of what you're talking about is the same thing. Like they're doing their due diligence to basically say, look, this is your own risk. I think, unfortunately, the US here is very litigious. And so
Especially
it,
California.
yeah, true. Like I could
Yeah.
tell you a whole different story about a client of mine, a mentoring client of mine who's being sued by the city because there's a ditch that somebody tripped in and they are suing the planner.
Oh.
So even though the city owns the property, so very litigious. So all of that being said, I don't know that the posting is enough here in California, right? And I don't know if people would feel like their rights are being stomped on by asking them to sign basically a waiver or hold harmless to enter an event. I don't know how that would fly with my clients or their guests, to be honest.
I think a lot of that comes down to just a very different mentality between the US and Canada and different countries around the world. There's a very different mentality there. And I think that going further to that, it's just raising more and more questions. And I want to take this moment to remind everybody who's watching, please feel free to pop your questions in the Q&A. And also one thing that I want to talk about now is what are the big questions that you're getting from your clients? And everyone, you're welcome to put in the chat box. What is the most common question you're receiving from your clients right now in terms of planning their event? And are there any that you're just like, I don't really know what the answer is to this and what's everybody doing? Morgan, what would you say is probably one of the bigger questions people are asking?
Well, definitely safety is still number one for most of our clients in general. The other question is having to do with catering and food services. Most of our clients already have gone to, even pre-COVID, it was more seated dinners and plated dinners, but there are a handful that wants to know, what's going on with action stations, food stations. Can we, what's like the cross-contamination safety of that? So those are some of the questions that some of our clients are inquiring about safety-wise, yeah.
Definitely. And I don't know how it is in California. We're full buffet open here.
Wow.
Everybody is serving themselves food. It's happening. So what is that looking like, Sasha, where you are?
It's the same thing. Like at August event, I have stations, so again, I don't know what I can say to a client that it is truly allowed, right? So the client asks for food stations. It really comes down to everybody being responsible for themselves and their comfort levels. So if they feel like their guests are not going to be comfortable with stations, my advice is you have to kind of know your people. So if you feel like there are people who are going to want to be more comfortable with sit-down dinner, like you need to know that. And chances are those people aren't going to come to the event anyway. They're just going to decline the invitation. So I have to be honest, like next week, I think buffets in Vegas are opening, or at least the one at the Wynn, I think, is opening. So as they see these things start to become more and more prevalent and closer to us, not Texas or the South or Florida or any of that, or Arizona even, because I think that all feels a little bit Wild Westy to us still up in Northern California. People are more willing to say, oh yeah, I'd like to do a buffet or a station. And my advice is let's do multiple. So we end up with and they have to be served. Like let's plan on them not having people put their fingers in everything. So you're going to have food service that's going to have to happen and you're going to have to staff it that way. So, I mean, that's just my advice, but I can't keep somebody from choosing that if it's truly allowed.
And there's ways that you can make that safe too. So us up here, we are going to be able to do buffets and stations. But what I'll do just to be safe on the safe side is have an attendant at every station where they're holding the serving piece and they're giving it to the guest. So the guest isn't touching anything. You could go as far as to put a glass shield in the front of it too. Who knows? But buffet, have attendants at buffets. That'll fly all day long. It's the touching of the tongs that's the hard part. So just put it on the serving staff. It's all good. Another question I'm getting is vendors who aren't vaccinated. Pat McGannon just posted a really good question in the Q&A about, as a supplier of entertainment, am I responsible to ensure the bass player in the party band who may play in 4 other bands is fully vaccinated? What do we do with vendors that have to work together? I get that question a lot. Are you requiring your vendors and your staff to be fully vaccinated? And the answer is no. We have to learn how to live through COVID, but providing on-site testing is going to be the way we get around that. And to talk about the band, Pat, I think just talk about the other members of the band and see what you feel. Legally in Canada, we can ask if people are vaccinated if they're working the event. I can ask my staff one-on-one. Obviously, don't ask in front of other people. Have some grace, but we can ask people as the host of the event.
I understand that we can ask as well, that HIPAA really just is regarding the doctors giving information and insurance companies giving information. It isn't like a one-on-one conversation, isn't a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
So we definitely can ask the same. Like I could call up the caterer and say, look, I really want you to provide vaccinated staff. And she'll be like, okay, well, I can ask them, but I mean, and I don't know, not to be, terribly political, but what I hear, and whether this is true or not, is that the Supreme Court's already decided this back in, 1913, that you can require a vaccination to work there, which I think just happened in Houston with some doctors, right? Or nurses, Chelsea, right? They were fired because they were refusing the COVID vaccine.
Correct.
So I think you can require it as an employer. It's a matter of whether or not the employer wants to do that, especially with staffing the way that it is right now, which is a real issue. So then it just becomes, well, I'm just going to have everybody masked and gloved, so, and take the safe serve certifications. And so you aren't just a server, you aren't just hired to serve the hors d'oeuvres, you're actually safe serve trained now. And you understand what goes into being safe serve trained.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a real quandary because of the staffing and not having people at all.
Yeah,
For sure.
I know in the last weekend we had an event, and the caterer, basically they test all of their employees before the event starts, even if they're vaccinated or not. And if they happen to be positive, they basically get sent home immediately, because then at that point it's it's not it's a safety issue for everyone else, including the vendors and the guests at the event. So.
So I have to ask a question about that, because my son's baseball program just had a bunch of 12-year-olds out, or practicing on an off day, and there was a girl. She had just been tested the day prior. 2 days later, she pops a positive. So to some degree, I feel like it's a false sense of security to test people at an event when they could show positive a day or two later. That's how I feel about on-site testing myself.
Definitely valid point.
Yep. I mean, you're doing everything you can to do every mitigation piece that you can.
Yeah.
And they're not perfect. And what else are you going to do, really? Like, those are the only options available to us. But you're totally right, Sasha. There's no way to control it.
And ultimately, it does come down to how comfortable a person and a guest is going to feel coming to that event. And if they're not comfortable, they don't have to go. These events aren't mandatory events for anybody. And are you finding, as we're moving into these later stages of this, are you finding that, are your clients still offering a virtual component? Are they trying to move away from that for the guests that are deciding that they're not coming? Are you still seeing a lot of hybrid type of events and, Zoom ceremonies and things like that?
100%.
We just did one in North Carolina. Yeah, we just did one. So we had 36 people at the event, and they Zoomed ceremony, first dance, all of the ceremonial type stuff.
I mean, we've been doing hybrid forever. We've been FaceTiming grandma forever, just because she can't travel, right? Like, hi, Grandma, like, you got your hair and makeup done just for FaceTime. way to go, grandma. We've been doing it forever. It just exploded now. And it's
Right.
really cost effective now. It's like right from zooming on somebody's laptop or phone all the way up to a 3-camera production. All of those are really easy to get now, cost-wise. Before COVID, it was quite cost prohibitive to do a 3-camera TV show recording sort of thing. But now the price has gone way down. It's easy. I think live streaming is going to be in forever. I'm going to offer it from here on in because I think it's just such a neat thing. Some people can't come for various reasons, especially grandma and grandpas.
Yeah.
So do you all foresee that this is going to be a natural part, a natural side option for weddings for the future? Streaming.
I do. I think people will be happy to stream it for people who can attend. So, but it's just a matter of how much effort, like Lynn is saying, how much effort they put into that streaming service, you know, whether it is just an iPhone or Android stream, or if they're actually doing the multiple production type things.
Great.
Seeing that that couples are streaming more and people are streaming more in their events, are you finding that guest counts are still on the decline, or people are starting to go back to having more people? Are they inviting more people because they know that some people will just watch virtually? Is there, are you finding that there's a decrease in that? Is there more of a, and does that then turn more of a focus onto the meaning behind the ceremony, or is it just, let's just have as many people as we can watch this or be there? Kind of talk to me about the size of the event in terms of guest counts.
Good question.
All of our inquiries are over 150 guests. So, and there are 200 people for next May, 100 people for March. So if we're going like on where we're going in the inquiries, because the other ones are all pretty much like set. We have 200, 250, 100, 50, 80. It depends on where they were already. All of the inquiries are higher numbers. And can we just talk for a second about hotel room rates?
Yeah.
Right?
So crazy.
Like, holy smokes, right? I almost just cussed a little. Anyway, so our hotel room rates, our Four Seasons is $1,200 a night in March, which is an off season. It's not even shoulder season.
Is that the Napa?
Across the board with venues. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insane.
It's crazy. So people really want to travel, right? Like they really want to go, and it's being exploited in the hotel portion.
They need to make up that loss, but we all do. So like, where's that line of you need to make up your losses versus like slitting people's throats? Like it's crazy. We have a question from Carrie that's asking, what did she say? Oh, that was another question. Never mind. But we have to get there somewhere. Or pricing. There was a question about pricing somewhere, Chelsea, that just came up. I can't
just looking
how much longer. Oh, she's asking how much can we keep doing things at the same price? Are we increasing our rates if they cancel again or postpone again? How long can we make this go? That was a really good question regarding money.
I do not lower your rate. Do not lower your rate to meet somebody else's standard of what you should charge.
Right.
So, I mean, this happens all the time where somebody says, "Oh, wow, you're really expensive. I can get it for $1.99." I'm like, "Okay, well, go ahead and get it. Good for you." I did not lower my rates. My rates are higher, not because of any losses from the year prior, because it was a loss, and I don't know how to make up that kind of money in. That is a multi-year makeup, right? Like there's no way to make up the losses for us, at least for 2020.
Yeah.
And early 2021, let's be real, right? So for a year and a half's worth of events. So but I did not lower my rate. Why would you do that?
If you have, yeah, for sure. I have a question for you, Sasha and Morgan. If you, because I know somebody's probably asking this in their mind, if you have a client that's postponed once, twice, 3 times, whatever, what does that postponement agreement look like if they're going to skip to 2022 now, if they have a wedding in 2021 and they're going to go again a second year, is there a rescheduling fee? Do your fees go up?
Yeah.
All those kinds of things.
Since 9/11, I've had a postponement clause. So I've had it forever, which is 1/3 of the total cost of the contract. I did that somewhat because it was, but there's also a secondary clause in there that if you book a date that I'm already booked, you pay an extra fee, right, to somebody to manage the event day. So have I asked somebody to pay that during COVID? I have not.
Yeah.
But we won't, but I reserve the right to do it by way of my contract. So can we just talk about how solid contracts save lives, right? Like the more solid your contract is, I cannot stress the contracts that I read from people in our industry that I call Franken contracts. They've taken something from one person, they borrowed a clause from here, they've typed out their own, like, pursuant to the blah, 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 right? Like, and they create their own and it sounds good, but it will never stand up in court. And I have a podcast out there called How I Lost $75,000. So if you listen to that podcast, it's a really good one because it talks all about contracts. You have to have these in your contract. And if you haven't added postponement, cancellation, COVID clauses, health and safety clauses in the year that you've had to do it, you missed the boat, dude.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm not trying to preach to everybody, but this was your time. This is your time to make really sweeping changes to your business that you could come out of it and feel much more solid.
Mm-hmm.
So it's time. Like you have to really reevaluate contract.
It's not too late to change that, you know? Yeah.
It's not, but I'm saying, like, you really had a year and a half to do this.
Totally.
Yeah. You still have time. It's not too late. I'm like you, Sasha. I do have all those clauses in my contract as well. But I do reserve the right to enforce it or not with regards to, you know, having the client pay the additional cost. I mean, for me, I would rather continue the process of planning the event and getting it, you know, executed and completed. But sometimes I do waive it. I mean, that's just me. It's a call on myself and the client. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you do, and I'm the same way, we revamped all of our contracts right at the beginning in April 2020. But if you do decide to not charge that postponement fee or that rescheduling fee, I always ask for an installment. If they're going to postpone for another year, pay me something so that we can keep going. And the clients have, by and large, been very kind and free to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you all. I'm just taking a look at these questions in the QA. There's some really great questions in here. And one of the questions that I first want to talk to you guys about is, are you guys experiencing more inquiries for destination events, either coming to where you are or your clients wanting to go somewhere else? Are you seeing a rise in destination events?
Well, I am a destination
wedding site.
You all live in incredibly beautiful places.
We're all destinations that don't serve our local market.
I mean, if you talk about destination like away, like not as much, like people asking me to go to Mexico or any of that stuff, that hasn't really been my situation.
Me too. Yeah. It's people coming here.
Exactly. Same here.
Mm-hmm. I need that border open.
So true. In looking at the questions here, what are the changes or challenges do you see being the biggest issues you're going to deal with over the next 6 months to a year?
I think for me, just right off the bat is, I don't know about anyone else, but in staffing for venues and vendors, it's just been crazy. Just trying to get a venue to respond back to you in time, you know, for a contract or something that a client's interested in. It takes them, what, you know, normally would take us, you know, a week or two, but now we're looking at a month, 2 months, because on their end, they're still trying to get their staffing in place. And I think short of staffing across the board, both in venues and in our vendors as well, and especially the rental companies.
I think
100%.
understanding my vendor's pricing,
Mm.
right? So who can I refer to who based on best fit, not only for who they are, but also for their any budget restrictions that they may have. Is the DJ now, again, 2 or 3 times the amount because they're trying to make up for last year, or are they, same price points? Like understanding people's new price points is a whole new thing for me because now we have to actually make the calls that we charge. It's actually a lot of time for a planner to figure that out. Flower pricing.
For me, I think it's a race to the availability goal. We're in a boom. Next year is ridiculously busy. And I think anybody that's planning now is experiencing the availability of vendors, availability of rental items, specific unique pieces that used to be like, no problem, I can just rent that, now are being snapped up because of the sheer volume of weddings that are happening in Q3 and 4 of 2021, and that 2022 is bonkers. It's going to be, how can you design a wedding when, and you guys are so lucky in the States to have such amazing availability rental wise, but for us in Canada, it's very finite. So designing a wedding and knowing availability is sometimes really interchangeable, and it goes in circles based on what we can get and what we can't get. So I end up reserving way more than I need and then cutting it a couple weeks later once we have our review meeting with the client. It's just that simple. Supply and demand for next year.
Michelle's talking about transportation prices getting rough. There were comments before about everything. I mean, rental cars, travel. I mean, we understand that on literally every level of our lives, everything is getting more expensive. Everything from the gas in your car to being able to buy a car to begin with, to the groceries that you buy. I mean, this is the cost of most people not being able to work for a year and a half. And, in terms of that, there's also talk, as we've seen in the news, about the Delta variant, a 4th wave. Are any of your clients, concerned about the fall and concerned about this new wave variant? Is this an issue you're dealing with in your area? And thoughts on preparing for what to discuss with clients is a question we've got from Charlene.
100%.
100%.
Well, Canada is so conservative. I think many countries will just plow through it. There's not much more you can do medically to prepare yourself to battle it, other than mini little regional lockdowns. But yeah, we're definitely having those conversations with our clients, especially in Canada, because we've been so conservative the whole time, for very low numbers in comparison to the States. So yeah, having a regional shutdown is a definite thing on our minds, especially the Calgary Stampede opening. We're so excited for it, but it's going to be a very big surge of very big gatherings very quickly all at one time. So if we do get that spike in the Delta variant, what happens then? We don't know. And that's the hard part, is just not knowing.
Sure. I mean, it's hard to prepare for right now. It's almost like getting ready to go backwards, but not knowing whether or not that's going to happen.
Yeah.
In terms of staffing, obviously we've seen a colossal issue in terms of staffing. Amy's asking, what have you found to be the most successful hiring technique to be finding enough team members to execute your events? And I suppose further to that, quality staff becomes a whole secondary issue there. Are there any tips that you'd recommend in terms of hiring people?
I don't carry a staff, so I'm probably not the right person to answer this, but I have my theories as to why we aren't getting the number of people coming back. And I feel like we work in a really abusive industry, hospitality in general, not just weddings, but people who have to work long hours for low pay, and they get yelled at, all that kind of stuff. Like, they don't want to come back to working in the front desk because it's hard, right? And they've gone on and they've found other jobs. So, but as far as like finding staff and technique of finding staff, for us, like, we need assistance, I have to reach out to my immediate network of people that I know and I trust.
Yeah. I'm the same way. We're pretty a lean team in general, but when we do need the additional help and staffing, like Sasha as well, it's, reaching out to our local network and getting a referral through people who we trust and have worked with before. So
I do hire setup crew, setup and tear down staff. And historically, I've had anywhere between 50 and 70 casual part-time employees at any one time. You got to work harder to get these people in because there's a lot of choices right now for people that have worked and have experience in the wedding industry or the event industry, period. The people that are coming back from leaving another company or have side jobs or full-time jobs, those part-timers are super, super valuable. So, I'm just throwing money at it, basically, paying them really good, increasing our labor accounts and our labor pricing to our clients for that reason, giving them merch, giving them ball caps, like LFW ball caps for tear down, any way to make it fun. We also have a staff referral program where we incentivize our team to bring friends if we need to. So lots of fun, welcome to the club kind of aspects of the LFW culture. But I do know that I'm experiencing vendors saying no because they don't have the teams. I'm talking about DJs, lighting, production, all of those really specialized talents that have lost a lot of people to other industries entirely. Some people have left the event industry entirely. And people are turning away jobs because they simply don't have the tech people to fill those spots.
I think we're going to see that problem for quite some time. People just they had to leave the industry. We've got a question here from Susie Lynn about, you were talking before, the duty of care signage. If there's a reference or any kind of resource that you can point Susie in the direction of on that? It looks like that might be a really popular question that some people might want to be offering to their clients.
Sure.
That might be something that maybe you just need to talk to a lawyer about, and that might be the best place to go. But if you have a resource to share on that, feel free to put that in there.
I don't, just because I got my lawyer to write it top to bottom. The wedding industry, if you know of a lawyer in your area that specializes in events, that would be the best thing to do. And they will have likely made probably 100 of them already for people. Each company is different, operates differently, has a different tone, a different vibe, a different culture. So if I shared mine, it wouldn't fit necessarily. And because it's a legal document, it's just best if you get one done individually for you. Basically, it's a waiver without calling it a waiver. It's like, I have self-assessed, we will do this to keep people safe. Other people will do this to keep people safe. And I, as a guest, am doing this to keep people safe. That's what is in that duty of care document. It's pretty straightforward, but it's a liability issue that a lawyer needs to look at for sure.
Don't Franken contract it, right, Sasha?
Yes, Sasha.
Don't Franken contract. Oh my God, don't.
That's right.
That's it. Kelsey's asked if anyone's seen a vaccine documentation platform or form. I have not. I don't know if I don't feel like, at least where I am, that's going to be something that even gets developed. Have any of you seen anything like that at this point, like an app or something that's collecting that information?
The state of California just released something this week that you can get to all of your documentation through the CDPH website. You just key in all of your information and it'll have it right there on your phone for you. So state of California though, right? So it really is a state by state, thing at this point. So, and I don't know how valid that is in other states, if you're going to require it for airlines or travel or whatever, that good stuff, but you can get it online in the state of California.
It's going to be very interesting to see how that evolves in terms of the passports and traveling, and will businesses just use those, and whether or not people will want to participate. I have gathered from everyone that it sounds like bookings are on the upswing for either the rest of the year, for the next year, for the year after, which is such a hopeful and wonderful thing to be thinking about at this time. I hope sincerely that we are just on our way up at this point. And this has just been full of incredibly good information. I know that it has been wonderful for me to sit here and hear from all of you and learn the different things that are happening absolutely everywhere. So I want to thank you all for coming so very much, and hopefully we were able to answer as many questions as possible. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Gwen.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our wonderful panel and all of the wonderful information that you've given us today. We really appreciate your time. And we know that, you know, with planners like you, this industry is going to be back 100% very soon. So, so thank you very much for doing that. Chelsea, thank you for being our moderator. And I'd like to again thank our sponsor, Giants Enterprises. And thank you everyone for taking the time out of your schedule to join us for today's discussion. We'll see you next time. Thank you so much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, everyone.
All the best for a great season.
You too.
Absolutely. You too, Morgan.
Take care, all.
See
Take
you,
care.
gals.
Bye.